All right, everyone. Crazy week in the market again. More bullish action. Welcome to the weekly edition. I should name this, but of technical analysis with me, Michael Nauss, CMT Chartered Market Technician. As always, at the end of the week, we zoom out on weekly charts, but because it's also the end of the month, we get to also zoom out on monthly charts. So there will be a lot of charts in this episode, and there is even more charts if you sign up for the email list, absolutely for free. Nothing to charge there. Go to statsedtrading.com, sign up for the email list. You can use the QR code on the screen as well. While you're there, if you want access to my scanning tool and all the scans that I use and all that kind of stuff, you can go and use Stats Edge at checkout, and it'll save you 15% off trade ideas. Link is on my website for that as well. But let's get into it because it's going to take a bit because there's a lot of charts. So let's start with the weekly here on Bitcoin. So very interesting. We're now 3 weeks in a row above this anchored view up from all-time highs. We have 1 week here that we broke, but we sold right off. And then we got another week here that we broke, but we sold back off. So now that we're here, we've now done 1, 2, 3 weeks in a row above this anchored view up. And if we go into not a 4 hour, if we go into a monthly chart, you can see we actually have a monthly close over that anchored view up from all-time highs. So the reason these anchored view ups are important, the reason that I like them, and again, credit to Brian Shannon to bring this to me with his new book, but it kind of represents the sentiment, the pure play sentiment of the stock, because basically means if you started and every month you took some money in your paycheck and you put it into Bitcoin and you started at the worst possible place, like the candle that is the absolute all-time high in Bitcoin, you are now up money. So by just dollar costing average in, you're up money. And if you want to talk about what sentiment really is and how sentiment really matters, it's whether or not people are making money or losing money on their positions. If they're losing money, they're bummed. And if they're making money, they're happy. So now that we're above that on a weekly basis for a couple weeks, obviously a daily basis still, and now a monthly basis, again, more and more people are up on Bitcoin. They're happier. And it just makes me think that this resistance that we have here, we may be able to hold above. And again, this is all with bad news that came out today of the SEC rejecting another Bitcoin ETF. So Bitcoin doesn't care. It's holding up in the face of bad news. If you guys know me at all, you know I'm a technician. I don't trade news. But what I like to see is if a market or a stock goes up on bad news or down on good news, that's a signal to me, right? If we can't get pushed down by what someone would consider bad news, then that's a strong stock. And if the stock doesn't go up on what's considered good news, then that's a weak stock. All right, so you can read not so much the news, but you can read into the actual price action by knowing what the news is and saying, hey, this isn't acting like one would expect when it comes to this news. So the other thing I wanted to talk about here of the currencies I watch is US dollar CAD. And again, talk a little bit about why it makes perfect sense to me to zoom out to monthly candles. Because if you'd follow the last couple episodes of this, I was talking about how I have a bearish position in US dollar CAD. And the main reason is because it was breaking this support area and then coming back up to test it from underneath. And that's a play that I have. So the short I have is still valid, seeing if it's going to bounce off that and then push lower. But when I zoom out to the monthly chart here and then zoom into the weekly chart here, it looks a little bit more bullish to me, right? We closed up on the week. Maybe we're just going to break through here and this will just end up being a bear trap and we'll just push higher on US CAD. Who knows, right? My stop is what it is. The play is a valid play. So I took it and it is what it is. But if that reverses, I may actually flip that if I get stopped out into a long, because we may have just kind of done the scoop and score or a bear trap. The idea is that you break a support or resistance zone by a little bit. And if buyers immediately come in, then basically what was happening is they were using other people's stop losses as entry liquidity. So as people are getting stopped out as it breaks support, if it's met with buyers right away and it pushes it back up over that level, that could be interpreted as a potential reversal in this one. So that's something I'm going to watch in US dollar CAD here. So now let's get into trade ideas and let's get into the SPY. and talk markets here. So the lower chart here, again, I'm loving these picture-in-picture charts, trade ideas. You can go to statsadtrading.com, check them out. But it gives you kind of 2 time frames on the same chart. So the bottom one we're going to be looking at here in the ETFs, that's a monthly, and the top one here is a weekly chart. So we're able to look at kind of both of these time frames in one go. And the SPY, we have these highs right here, these August highs. I was talking about these in last week's video where we kind of came right down. We were pulling back with this red candle, and I said, hey, we should watch these August highs. Came down, touched those almost to the tick, and then just rocketed off them. So we now have a 52-week closing high on the SPY. That's not a bearish thing, right? You don't see a lot of new 52-week highs in bear markets. You usually see those in bullish trends. So we're definitely in a bullish trend now on the SPY, which is our macro cap type stuff. But I'm actually seeing a lot of this action under the hood as well. So if we go to, we go XLI. And XLI, which is our industrial sector. So John Deere, Caterpillar, Halliburton, I think, big industrial giant names, certainly not AI tech stocks, a new weekly closing highs. So it's a little bit easier to see if I go to an area chart to see the closing prices as opposed to the, the highs and lows, but a new all-time closing highs for industrials, right? Just not exactly bearish, right? That's not what you would see if the market was ugly. You wouldn't see things that make things making new all-time highs. So nice little breakout there in industrials. Certainly not bearish to me. Also XLY. So let's go to XLY. I keep looking over because this is where I have all the screenshots. Again, I don't show you every chart I put in the email, but I show you most of them. Not XLY, XLK. What was I looking at? Is still flirting with these prior highs. So still fighting these prior highs right here in XLY. We've got the, came down to the highs. We had this whole bear market rocketing back up and actually holding pretty high and tight against these highs right here. So it's almost like this demand is eating this overhead supply. I would, not saying that we're just going to rocket through, but I'd be shocked if we didn't break it at least by a little bit. I also wanted to go over ARKK. Again, I told you there'd be a lot of charts on this one, where we have this kind of rounded bottom going on, and we're starting to get up to the high. We're climbing this wall, right? So a rounded bottom basically has a downtrend, then it has some sideways action, and then it has to start an uptrend. And it looks like we may be starting that uptrend. We have a higher low right here, and now we may be putting in a higher high, which is the first part of an uptrend. So again, this is kind of risk on stuff. This is, I use it for unprofitable tech names, essentially. Lastly, in the ETF sector, I want to talk about JDX here. So JDX actually pulled off, and this is your gold miners. This isn't the gold asset itself, but the miners is pulling all the way back, came under this anchored VWAP from the lows, and then push. And you can see what happened last time we got there. So pull back here last time and hit that anchored VWAP from lows, it bounced higher. Came back down here, anchored VWAP from lows, maybe it will start to push higher again. So this is a very interesting area for me on JDX. So now we're going to switch into, let's make this, this is weekly, and we're going to switch into, this will be a daily. Because now we're going to go into the watch list. We're going to take a look at some things here. So we're going to take a look at NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is one that I've been in for a while. I actually bought back in some today. Came back down to this 400 level, just shy of the anchored VWAP from before the gap. But if you do the anchored VWAP from just the gap itself, again, still couldn't quite reach that. So 400 area, that's the level, bouncing off that one. Good looking play, could continue to go higher on that one. I'm not going to talk too much about some of the trades I'm in. I'll go through quickly, but you notice there won't be a lot on the list because everything's just working so well, right? So this PDCO talked about, I think on this candle right here or this one here. Yeah, so there's anytime you see this green line, this is where I had my price alert set so that the trade ideas would alert me that, hey, it's coming through this level. Then I could bring up my broker and buy if I want to as it's going through there. So PDCO is doing phenomenal. Play is doing amazing. So just look at the green lines. THO is doing amazingly. And again, a lot of this has to do, THO is just phenomenal, right through here. But a lot of these have to do with the fact that the market is rallying. So, I'd love to take credit and say I'm, the greatest stock picker in the world. But when you have the market on your side like this, it's when you really have to put on the gas, right? You really have to start letting things go. Anything that's not working, you kill right away. You take that capital, you deploy it into something that is working, and you keep going until the market stalls or pulls back. And that's when my list will get longer again. So the list is kind of short right now because A, I'm like fully invested in pretty much everything. And then B, I just need things to even out a little bit. So with Chewy, one that I'm putting on the list here, we have a 26% short float on Chewy. And we've just finally broken the anchored view app from this high right here. So we had this big gap up on earnings, came in, held that gap well, starting to push higher. I think $40 or so is an interesting level for this. And with a 26, 27 almost percent short float, that one's a really interesting look to me. So that's Chewy. I think they sell dog food, like an Amazon for dog food kind of thing. We have MTLX. This is another really interesting one. Again, the anchor view app for the gap. This is a scan that we have in TI that I'm just absolutely in love with. But we have 2 inside days in a row. So we have this big candle, and then this day is inside this candle, and then this day is inside this candle. So on a shorter term basis, getting really, really tight. And on a longer term basis, it's gapped up on insane volume. Like, normally doing a couple hundred shares, a couple 100,000 shares a day here did 10 million. So, I don't need to know the news to know that that's pretty substantial. LNTH, this is one that I actually took recently. I took it in through here because of this anchored view app right before the gap. So again, it came back up on the scan. I didn't catch this one, but that one was a great move. Came back in, found some support there, got another good move, came back in. If we find support here again, then I will take this one again. Last new one for the watch list today is Monday, MNDY. I think they do a project management type of software. And again, the same setup. So you have this gap, this earnings gap on high volume, held that, push higher, shows me that whatever they reported was good. It had to be good numbers to push higher. Comes back in and it holds that area right there. So if we start to push higher again, Monday, I like this one has a 15% short float. So very interesting on this one as well. So that is it for this weekend. Just an FYI, with a half day on Monday, I'm not going to do a video for Monday. I'm going to, look around on the market and stuff, but it'll be like on the back deck with my laptop out, just a chill day. So, and then obviously Tuesday, the market's closed, so I won't be doing one Tuesday. So next time I'll see you guys will be Wednesday. So that's a nice 4-day weekend for all of us. Thank you all for watching. And whatever you're seeing this on, if you made it this far, please subscribe, like, share. I got a YouTube report the other day and says more than half of you aren't subscribed. Whatever you're seeing this on, hit me up. That's fantastic. Thank you very much for coming by. Have a good long weekend. You Americans down there, be careful with the booze and the fireworks, and I will talk to you on Wednesday.